Okay, welcome back to the channel. We're going to be playing from the previous video, the Promised Battle Report. It's an escort mission containing this Imperial fleet out here in front of us. There are 6 of these Star Galleon transports. The Imperial player's objective is to get 2 of these transports in base-to-base contact with the planet for an invasion or whatever it is that they're going to do there. And the Rebel player has to ensure that none of those transports get to the planet. So what did you call the rule set?
It's a trap!
You yelled it weirdly, okay. Over dramatic. Anyway, here we have the mat. It's obviously it's our felt mat, so you might see some hairs on there because of that thing.
It's a cat?
It's a cat, yeah. There is an asteroid field going up here and a smaller one going up there. The Rebel player will come in on there's the Rebel ships up here on different sides. We're going to roll off in a second for that to see which side of the mat they come in on. And the Imperial player has the strike cruiser with the Star Destroyer in the middle and the broadside cruiser up front. It's got the 2 escort or the 2 armored Nebulon Bs on each wing, and the transports are kind of inside there. So we're not going to go over the rules for each individual turn. We might do the first or second turn. Probably the second turn we'll go through the rules. But then we're just going to give you updates on what happened, and if something interesting happens, we'll hit record. But yeah, so just hang on a second. I'm going to pause. I'm going to go around to my side of the table, and we're going to roll off to see where the Rebel ships appear. Okay, so for this game, I have my fleet laid out here. I have the MC-75, the Assault Frigate Mark I, MC-40, the Nebulon B Escort Frigate, and the CR-90 Corvette. What we're going to do is we're going to roll 2 dice. So these 2 dice are going to be how many inches they start from the board edge. And this is going to be which board edge they show up on. So a 1 or a 2 is going to be that board edge. A 3 or a 4 is going to be right here. And a 5 or 6 is going to be over by that board edge. So we'll start off with the Corvette. And he is going to show up he's going to show up 11 inches over there. Okay, so we'll just mark that. He's over there, 11 inches. The Nebulon B is going to be right here, 8 inches. The MC-40, he's going to be over there. He's going to shart 12 inches from the board edge. The Assault Frigate is going to be over here with the what's it called? The CR-90, and he's going to be 7 inches. And then the big ship right here, I need him to come in somewhere. Okay, he's going to start off over there. So I have no ship starting on this. Oh, I have 1 ship starting on this board edge. Okay, so we're going to pause it here. I'm going to put the ships out on their where they're supposed to come in from, and we'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. We're deployed now. The MC-75 has come in off the board edge right there. The the MC-40 zoomed in, and he's coming through the asteroid field. On the other side, right here by the planet, the Nebulon B is right there. Obviously, you can see him with his 1 X-Wing squadron. And then we have the Assault Frigate and the MC-90 right there. So, first turn, just roll off, see who goes first. Straight D6. A 4 versus a 2. So, winner must go first. Yes. So, in this game, we just choose a ship and we activate. So I have to decide which ship I want to move first. Okay, we'll be right back and I'll show you that movement. Okay, and that was pretty simple. So my MC-75 just moved up his 7 inches to there. He's just going to try and cut off the Imperial convoy. The next part in the rules would be the MC-75 would do any shooting, but because there's nothing to shoot at, you can see there's no line of sight or range. So the next is the Imperial player gets to move something. And I just put this little token here just to show that he has moved. Okay, what are you going to do?
Okay, so I am going to use my broadside cruiser. Mm-hmm. And he has a speed of 7 inches.
Okay.
And we're going to move the full 7 because our objective is to get to our home planet or to invade that planet there. So the measurement is from peg to peg. But because we have no other peg, I'm going to use it up to the peg.
And you can turn anytime in that movement.
Yes, my broadside cruiser can turn once, 45 degrees once per movement.
But you don't want to,
I don't feel like turning. I'm just going to go straight forward.
So that's your movement done. Now you're going to do your shooting phase, I guess.
Yes.
You want to measure here to see how far you are? Give me that.
No, so let's measure and
peg
see.
To peg.
So peg to peg.
Peg to peg. You're 16 inches. So you're in extreme range.
Extreme range. Now, I know that your ship over here is technically closer, but we can't see him because you're in the asteroid field.
Yeah.
Okay, so for extreme range, there's modifiers.
Yeah.
So
you everyone starts off on a 3+ to hit.
Yes.
Before the modifiers. And what modifiers do you have?
So extreme range is from 15.01 inches to 18 inches. So I'm in extreme range. So that's +3. So
that'll be a 6 to hit.
6 to hit. My target movement. You've not moved. So
we start off. I zoomed in, so I moved. Mm-hmm. I'm at medium movement.
Yeah, so it's not 14 inches or more moved in. That's no modifier for that.
Yeah.
Your scale of ship.
Yeah.
You are a.
I'm a small ship.
You're a small ship. Oh dear. So that's a -1.
So
I'm not going to be able to possibly roll a 7.
So your hit-to-hit roll would be a 7, which you can't do.
Cannot do.
And that's just because of the extreme range, and it's a small target.
Yeah. So I cannot shoot at you at this turn. Okay.
So that's basically how movement and shooting would have worked. We're going to pause the video here, and we're just going to do all our movement, and we'll show you what we got up to. Unless something cool happens at the end of the turn. Okay, so my second activation as the Rebels was to move this MC40, kind of like from here right through the asteroid field. And I'm going to take a pot shot at that Star Galleon over there. So normally it would be, it's usually always 3s to hit before modifiers. Because I'm at long range, it's +1.
+1.
+1, so I'm at a 4. And what size are you?
I am a small size.
Small size, so that's +1 again.
Yes, and there's no movement modifier.
Okay, so I get 3 shots out of my side arc, because you're still in my side arc, corner to corner. So I get 3 shots, and I need a 5. Oh, that's 2 hits. So now, after I hit the target, you have your shield saves. So what is your shield on that Star Galleon?
My shield saves are 5s. So I'm going to roll 2 dice and hope for 5s. No, I missed both of them.
Okay, and what is your hull value? Your armor value, sorry.
My armor value is also 5s.
5. So I need, then on my dice, to get 1, 2, 3, 4 to damage you. And I do. 2 damage points.
So how many? My hull integrity is 3. So I've taken 2, which means now I am critical. So I'm going to notify that with a red dice on the base that my guy has 1 hope point left.
Okay, so that is the target. I shot this guy here, and that is how shooting works. Essentially, you roll for you hit on 3s, you check your range, you check the movement, you check the size of the target, and then you roll. The defender gets shield saves, and for any shield saves that weren't saved, the attacker gets to test against their hull value or their armor value. And then there's hit points that you get reduced by. And if you're reduced by half or more, you're crippled. That's why there's a red dice there instead of a white dice. Usually if it's you take 1 hull point, you just use a white dice. But he now has all of his relevant stats halved. His movement is halved, his turning radius is halved, his point defense is halved, and his attacks are halved, rounding up. Okay, we'll be right back we'll be back whenever something interesting happens. Okay, so in my wife's turn, she chose to activate some transports, and the transports are activated 2 at a time, so 2 transports is technically 1 activation. And she has moved this transport here from there. He's kind of like headed behind the broadside cruiser, and this one here just moves straight up. Then it passed to me, and I moved my Nebulon B from here. Kind of went like an arc to here, and he's going to shoot out of a side arc onto the Star Galleon. Now, the Nebulon B doesn't have any firepower value coming out of its front arc. It has all of its values coming out of its sides. That's not to say that there wouldn't be guns shooting forward, but the overall result of the guns shooting forward wouldn't really damage a ship that significantly. But whereas if it was side on, most of the guns would hit. So, I am hitting on, like I said before, on 3s. I am inside 7 inches. What's that?
So 7, that is medium range, so there's no modifier.
No modifiers. You didn't move faster than 14 inches because you're
No.
slow, so there's no modifiers there. And you're not stopped or anything, right?
No.
And what size target are you?
I'm a small target.
So that's +1. So the Nebulon B will be hitting that Star Galleon on 4s, and it gets 2 dice out of its side arc. Just gonna roll that here. Yep. Oh, you can't see because of the glare, but 2 6s.
How did you manage
I don't
that?
know. 2 6s, so 2 hits.
Okay.
So this time we're shooting at the Star Galleon.
Yes.
Last time we made a mistake. We were shooting at the Star Galleon, but we decided to
reading the wrong
the Nebulon
line.
the armored Nebulon cruiser took it in the frigate took it in the chin.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get 2 shots you have to save.
On 6s, because that's my shield.
Yeah, the shields on transports aren't the best.
And nothing.
And what's your armor value?
6.
So anything but 6s will wound him.
Oh, yes.
So I penetrated with 1 shot, but failed with the other. How many hull points do those Star Galleons have?
I have 2 hull points, so
you're still alive.
Limping along.
So there's smoke trailing out of the back of him, but he's still alive. Okay, so why don't you choose something else to move?
Okay, so I am going to.
The light is really bright. Yikes.
I'm going to move one of my Nebulon armored frigates here.
Mm-hmm.
So he moves 9 inches, and he can turn 2 times within that movement, 45 degrees each.
Yeah, so you can make 2 45-degree turns in a 9-inch move.
That's a much better way of saying it than my convoluted way. But you know what? I don't think I'm going to turn.
You don't have to.
No, because if I do it like this and maybe just a little bit turn.
Can you shoot at anyone there? You got a target?
I shoot out of my sides.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna see what his range is.
12, over 12 inches.
This is 12, and I'm not. Can I? See
you
him?
You can see him now.
I can see him. So that is 10. So you know what? I'm gonna try the 10.
Okay.
Okay, and so let's just see here. So 10, that puts me into long range. Mm-hmm. So instead of 3, that gives me a modifier of +1. So it would be 4s. Mm-hmm. Now, you've not gone more than 14 inches, so there's no modifier on target movement. But you are a
tiny. I am a tiny. This is a small boy.
So that means I have to hit you on 6s.
On 6s.
Maybe I should have chose the other one.
No,
that's
fine.
Okay.
6s.
We're gonna try.
The Corvettes are fast and they're small. They're hard to hit, but when you do hit them, they evaporate pretty quickly. So you have 2 shots on 6s.
See. So yeah, I have 2 shots coming out of my side. Nothing.
No hits. Okay, so pew pew and miss. Okay, so we'll be back in a second after the rebels have moved. Okay, so we have our first victim of the game. It is the wounded Star Galleon. That's right there. You can see the plume of smoke and flame. The killing blow came from the CR-90. He has now activated. I gotta put my little activation token. Boop, right there. The Nebulon B fired at it, missed, and it kind of skirted around the rock, came here, and blasted that wounded Star Galleon. So that's the first victim. 1 down, 5 to go.
But he's no longer critical.
Well, he no longer has to worry about the critical, I don't think.
He no longer has to worry about being critical.
But yeah, no, the objective for me is to kill these Star Galleon, the transports, so I got to start doing it. We played the game last night, and I was focusing too much on your capital ships. And yeah. Okay. We'll be back after Imperial turn, or if something interesting happens. Alright, well, that sucked for me. But the strike cruiser, you want you to explain what you did.
Okay. So I used my strike cruiser that was over here.
Yep.
I turned him, and then I moved my full 8 speed to here, and then I turned back towards the way that I should be going.
Right.
And I shot here at your light cruiser.
Yeah.
Out of 3 shots, the modifiers, because it was medium range, so there was no modifier on the 3. You did not move any weird target movement, so there was no modifier for that. And you are a medium ship, so there's no modifier. So I was hitting you on 3s.
Yeah.
So I got 2 hits. And I ended up crippling you because I took 2 hull points off.
Yeah, so we started off at 4 hull points, full strength, and now he's down to 2 because of the broadside from that cruiser. And he's crippled, which he's still in the fight, but he's half as useful as he was. And that really sucked because he was hunting down your ships there. Okay, so I'm going to go and be back after my turn. I think I only have 1 ship left. I've only got 1 activation token, so that must be the assault frigate right here. And we'll see what we can do. We can see if we can... Boy, I'd love to pop another transport, but we'll see. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, so we have a combat here at my 5th activation, and we're just going to show you what it is. So my assault frigate has come through the asteroid field. He's kind of turned, and I've put it so where there's 2 Imperial ships in 2 different arcs. So essentially, from the front arc, there is the Star Galleon, or this broadside cruiser, and from the side arc, there is that Nebulon armored frigate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to nominate which is going to be my primary arc to fire from, and they're not going to suffer any negative modifiers. So I am going to target the Star Galleon with my front guns, and my side guns are going to target the Nebulon. So that's a -1 to hit on top of whatever other modifiers. Essentially just because, it's just unfair to go in like Nelsonian and just blow from both sides of the ship. The targeting computers are kind of using up their computer power on the Star Galleon, and that is going to take a little bit of a minus. So we'll be back after we have worked out combat and rolled some dice. Okay, so I flubbed my own rules. Essentially, the assault frigate can shoot out of 2 arcs, but the front arc is essentially you could shoot out of both side arcs or the front arc, so you can't shoot out of both. So anyway, I decided not to take the 2 long-range shots at this Star Galleon. I decided to take the 3 medium shots at this Nebulon B, and I shaved off a hull point. So that is all the Rebel activations. We're going to do the Imperial activations. They've got a lot. There are a lot more ships on the board, and we'll be back after they've moved or if anything interesting happens. Okay, so Miss Imperial, she has taken all of her turns. Everything else activated ship-wise, like capital ship-wise. She moved up her transports, like a bunch of transports here and there. This one here took a pot shot with his little teeny gun on the Rebel assault frigate and managed to take a hull point off. The Star Destroyer turned and moved this way and broadsided that guy there, but he missed. Or he hit, but I saved it with my shields. And yeah, so that's the movement. Now we get on to a rather not complicated, but more in-depth fighter flight stand phase. So how the fighters and flight stands, like bombers, whatever, work in this game is the player who won initiative has to move 3, or if they don't have 3, 2, whatever they have, but they have to start moving flight stands 3 at a time. So I have to now move 3 flight stands. It can be fighters or bombers. It can be any of the Rebel fighters or bombers on the map, and I got to move them up to their distance. So fighters and bombers down here, they have a move distance. You can see it. An A-wing can move 20 inches, B-wing 14, blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on. So that's what we're going to do, and we're going to come back at the end of the fighter movement phase, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of entanglements. There's going to be lots of fighter on fighters, fighters on bombers, bombers on capital ships, and we'll be right back. Okay, so like I explained before, there's a lot of fighters and bomber stands on this table, and how we work those out is you move 3 at a time, and you just try your best to bombers attack capital ships, fighters escort them, whatever you gotta do. But this is what happened. So I moved my X-Wing down and I got swarmed by 2 squadrons of TIE fighters over here. I'm doing a bombing run with my Y-Wing escorted by a Z-95 on that Nebulon B armored frigate over here. This Y-Wing was coming in just to kind of line up some shots on some Imperials next turn, but got intercepted by an interceptor. And this X-Wing came in to help. There's another Y-Wing kind of flying along in behind there, doing nothing. And then we got a massive pile of... we got a TIE bomber attacking the Moncal light cruiser and a TIE fighter escorting it. And we got most of the Rebel fighters, 3 squadrons, 2 Z-95s and 1 X-Wing coming in to try and save that Moncal. So that's what we're going to do. Essentially what you do is you work out your, what we call them is entanglements. Excuse me. The first thing that you do is you do any fighter on fighter actions only. So any action where there's only fighters fighting only fighters. And we have one right there. And that's it. Then you do you do fighters on bombers first, actually. Sorry, fighters on bombers. So there's one right here. And that's it. Then fighters on fighters. There's one right there. And then any action where there's a capital ship involved, like right, for instance, there and there, they come last. So we are going to do the fighter on bombers first, right here. So we'll just do this on camera. So the interceptor, honey, how many dogfighting value does it have?
2.
So the Imperial interceptor has a dogfight value of 2. The X-wing also has a dogfight value of 2, and the Y-wing adds 1. So essentially, what we do is we roll. I'm going to roll 3 dice, and you're going to roll 1 dice, and you're going to roll 2 dice. Sorry, and 4 pluses do damage. I got 1. How many do you get?
1.
So you got 1. I also got 1. And how that works is now is that the fighters, if I can show you, the fighters have hit points. So the Y-wing has, if I can show you here, the Y-wing has 1 whole point, and the interceptor has how many?
1.
It has 1 as well. The order of removal is important. The order of removal is always bombers go first. If there's a casualty in a big dogfight of various things, the bombers get removed first. My Y-wing only has 1 hit point, so the interceptor shot down my Y-wing squadron. It's gone. And the X-wing came in and
shot out my interceptor.
Yeah, so that's gone. So anyway, you took out, you didn't survive, but you took out the bomber, which was important, and that's how dogfights go. Now we're going to do fighters on fighters. We got this here. So X-wing has a dogfight value of 2.
My TIE fighters have a dogfight value of 1, but I have 2 of them.
So it's 2 dice on 2 dice. So I'm going to roll here. 4s are hitting. Oh, I missed.
I missed too.
And you missed. Okay, so in that case, the dogfight just keeps going till the end of next turn.
Okay.
And then we'll do this bombing run here first, this entanglement first. So essentially what happens is, the first thing that happens is the capital ship gets a point defense attack. Now, if there was any TIE fighters involved here, we'd have to fight it out first, but there's not. So how many on that Nebulon armored frigate, how many point defense value dice do you have?
My Nebulon, sorry. I have 1.
So you get 1 shot, and you need a 5+ to shoot down a fighter.
No,
so you missed. So the Y-wing gets to continue its bombing run, and now we get to what's called the bombing run stage. And sorry, Cat, he's right there.
Sleeping.
The bomb rating of the Y-wing is 2, so I roll 2 dice, and instead of hitting on 4s, I'm hitting on 3s normally, but because you're a small ship, I'm hitting you on 4s. So 2 dice on 4s. So no saves, just 1 point of damage.
Okay. So I think that would put me critical.
Yeah, so you're going from 2 dice down to 1 hull point. Sorry, 2 hull down to 1 hull, which makes you critical now. So the Y-wing has damaged that Nebulon. The Z95 has 0 bomb rating, so he's just kind of hanging out there looking at the fight go through. He was just escorting the bomber in. So over here, we have a little bit more complicated. There is also a dogfight happening here. So what we do is we add up all of the dogfight values, including the point defense value. So what is the point defense value on that Moncal MC40 light cruiser?
That is 2.
So there's 2 dice hitting on 5s. And then there is 1 X-wing, which is 2 dice hitting on 4s, and 2 Z95s, which is 1 dice each. So I have 4 dice hitting on 4s and 2 dice hitting on 5s. And you have...
I have an interceptor.
No, you have a TIE fighter?
Yes, I have 1 TIE fighter.
Yeah.
And I have 1 interceptor.
1 TIE bomber.
TIE bomber, I'm sorry. Oh,
so you get 2 dice. So I'm going to roll my 4 dice for my fighters first. I got 2 hits.
Oh my god.
And then I'm going to roll my 1 dice for my... my 2 dice for my... So I got 1 point defense hit, and so I got 3 hits. And how many did you get? Oh, you got...
I rolled double ones.
Double ones. So essentially, we start assigning the damage with bombers taking the damage first. So how many hill points? I've been talking too much. How many hull points does a TIE bomber have?
2.
2. So take away 2 and he's gone.
Dead.
And then you remove the last one on whatever's left, which is the TIE fighter.
And he only has 1, so he is gone.
So unfortunately, that did not work out well for you. I managed to save my Moncal. There is no bombing run phase because the bomber is gone. And that's how you work out the flight phase. It doesn't seem like much. It's not very complicated, but there's a lot of strategy to it. So for instance, like if you have a bombing run that has to go through, you have to try and tie down enemy fighters and bombers as best as you can with the limited amount of ships that you have, or stands that you have. The Imperials will usually always have less stands. Well, no, they won't have less. Usually they'll have more stands than the Rebels, but the Rebels fighters are twice as good. So, usually what we do is we sacrifice a TIE fighter to tie down a whole bunch of X-Wings, and that's, it'll die for sure, but that whole turn is wasted. Anyway, that is finally the end of turn 1. We have 1 casualty. The Star Galleon blew up from the CR-90. We got a crippled Nebulon armored frigate on this side. Another crippled one on that side. The Rebels haven't got off scot-free. There's a light cruiser crippled here. And an assault frigate has a hull point off it here. And that's it. We will be back. We're not going to do the next turn quite so in-depth. We just wanted to give you a sense of the rules that we've been creating. And we'll be back at the end of turn 2 with an update of what happened at the end of turn 2. Can the Imperials get to the ass of the cat? Okay? Okay, we'll be back. Okay, we've spent a few minutes. We've done all the movement for the ships. I'll try and go through it if I can remember exactly what happened. A lot of stuff happened. Essentially, the first movement was mine, and I moved my Moncal out here, and he crippled that guy, and I think that was all he did. Then my wife moved, and she moved the broadside cruiser. There was a CR-90 here and a Nebulon B here. She broadsided in, she crippled the Nebulon B, and the CR-90 just took off. The CR-90 did take off, though, and didn't manage to kill that galleon. Then over here we had like a shootout. I brought in my assault frigate, who you can see is on fire. He blew up that Star Galleon, and then he got just wasted by the Star Destroyer. So there's 2 dead ships. 1 Star Galleon, 1 assault frigate. And I'm in a bad way, to be honest. So you're not doing much better, but I'm in a bad way. I only have my Star Cruiser and my CR-90 that are functional. Everything else is either dead or crippled. And you have 2 Star Galleons that can move? 1?
2 that can actually move, and 2 that are crippled.
And 2 that are crippled.
And 2 that are dead.
But none of your, apart from your little tiny frigates, none of your other ships are even scratched yet.
No.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do the fighter stands movement first, and I get to move first because I won initiative again. And we'll be back after we've got into our little engagements. Okay, another small update. I did a good job this turn of tying down all of the Imperial fighters, so they didn't even get to activate because I made sure with my 3 activations I was engaging. So I engaged this bomber with a Z95 just to tickle him a little bit. I engaged, what else did you have free? You had this guy, this TIE fighter here, got ganged up on by some Z95s. Yeah. I reinforced another X-Wing into this ongoing fight. Then I'm doing a bombing run on this Nebulon and a bombing run on this Star Galleon. And I'm going to try and do a bombing run on this Star Galleon because he's crippled. But you see the little escort tartan patrol cutter there? They're going to be really nasty. So how patrol cutters go, like you can see in this game, there's a patrol cutter here escorting that Star Galleon. There's one over there. Essentially, they're going to be doubling the point defense value of those ships, just making them really nasty. Yeah, so we'll be back after we've done all of the, I guess, we've shot fighters out of the sky. 1 sec. And that's it, yeah. All right, so that was quick and easy. So the X-Wings won over the TIE fighters here. Both are gone. A big bunch of nothing here. Z95 headhunters are not very good. Here again, they had a chance to kill out one TIE fighter and failed because they suck. This...
I took out one bomber of yours.
Oh, yes, right here. So right here, there was an X-Wing attacking this, and he got shot down. He just got like 3-point defense dice, 2-point defense dice. 2 5s, 2 hit points. X-Wing squadron just evaporated. Here, the Y-Wing made it through, but only did 1 damage, so that's still around. And over here, we destroyed this thing, whatever that is. Oh, we destroyed a Nebulon armored frigate with a bombing attack. And that's it. That is going to be the end of turn 2. We'll be back at whenever something interesting happens on turn 3. Okay, I wish I could tell you a whole bunch happened here after all the ships have moved, but this Star Galleon has made a break for it. All the other Star Galleon transports are crippled, so they're crawling along back here. There's fighters and bombers swarming all over. Over here, my Star Cruiser came through. I got a great broadside on that Victory-class Star Destroyer, but I only did 1 damage. My Nebulon B came around and did another point of damage. And then he just turned both of his big capital ships around and took 2 hull points off of my Star Cruiser. The Strike Cruiser down here did 1 more point on that MC-80 Light Cruiser, so he's like a burning wreck. And my little Corvette just went zoom, and now he's here. And that's how we leave the turn, what are we on? Turn 3? That's turn 3. Now we have the fighter phase. We're not going to bore you with the fighter phase. We're just going to come back and tell you what's happened. Essentially, I have already tied down all of the fighters, so she can't really do anything. And I'm just going to have my way with her Star Galleons. Be back in a second. Okay, so goods and bads. I blew up a Star Galleon, but the Tartan Patrol Cutter shot down 2 squadrons of Y-Wings on the way in. I failed to kill him. I destroyed the TIE fighter here, and I destroyed the TIE... Oh, and we failed to destroy the bomber there. So, goods and bads. I lost 2 Y-Wing squadrons and a Z95 squadron. And you lost, what, two TIEs?
And a Galleon.
And a Galleon. So anyway, we're on to turn 4. We'll roll for initiative, and we'll be back whenever something exciting happens. Okay, so we're at the end of movement on turn 4 for the capital ships. The Star Galleon here, one of them is making a break for it. He's almost 1 move away from the planet. The rest of them, though, one got blown up here by my Corellian Corvette, who, that's him now. He got destroyed by this Nebulon armored frigate. And, just 1 hull point off of my MC-75. And, yeah, that's basically it. Now, in the fighter phase, or the fight stand phase coming up, I get a chance to try and chase down, to win the game, chase this guy down. And you shot down all my bombers last turn, except for my 2 X-Wing squadrons. So can you just, honey, get 16 inches? That's what she said. And measure from the closest X-Wing right there to here. So, no, that's the X-Wing right here. So, so can you put the X-Wing right there?
Yep.
So this guy gets 1 bombing run, and he's not in base to base. And that's as far as he can move. Essentially, the turn 5 will show up. So what I would do is I would move this X-Wing, will go on a bomb run on this guy here. He will join that bomber. What else do I have? That's all I have.
Yeah.
So we'll just do this guy here first. This is the last turn of the game.
Okay.
You don't get any. I get to shoot you first because you're a bomber. I'm a fighter. And I shoot you down. Oh, no, I do 1 hull point to you.
1 hull point.
So you get to do your 1 attack on me back. And nothing.
Perfect.
So he goes from 2 hull points down to 1.
Want me to...
Yeah, well, it doesn't really matter. The game's over. You get to do your... yeah, just leave it. It's okay. Okay, so... Stop fighting with it.
Okay, I am. Okay.
Okay, so you get to do your point defense value on
Yes.
an X-Wing. So this little cutter, this patrol cutter, has shot down now 4 squadrons of bombers this game. So he gets 2 more chances to shoot down an X-Wing.
Okay, ready? Here we go. No.
No, he doesn't. So the X-Wing gets to go. So normally I would need a 3, but because you're a small ship, I need a 4. No, and I don't even kill him. And that is the end of the game because...
Did you shoot that guy?
No, I can't. I can't shoot him. He's not in base to base. And at the beginning of the next phase, you will move 6 inches into the planet. Yep. And 10,000 Imperial Stormtroopers pour out and take that continent. So, you didn't get 2.
No.
So you didn't win. But I didn't save the planet from being invaded, so I didn't win. So another pathetic draw. High five. Okay. So what happened really? Like my man of the match was that MCCR90 right here. He was just zipping all over the place. Yeah, he's really hard to hit because he's so small and so fast. And who was your favorite ship of the game?
I would say my broadside. He didn't take any damage.
Yeah.
And I think that he gave out quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, he did. He took 3 points. Well, he didn't really take 3 points, but he damaged the MC75 right here.
Yeah. And one of my tartans.
Actually, yeah.
He got rid of
that tartan cruiser killed everything except for this Z95. 3 Y-Wings and an X-Wing. All while they were trying to make their bombing runs. It was just ridiculous. So yeah, that is the game. We're going to post it online eventually. We still have some more play testing to do, and every time we play, we find something else that needs changing or tweaking a little bit. So we take notes, so that's why you didn't see the game going. We didn't show you every single turn, because, again, this is a play test.
Let us know what you think.
Yeah, so what do you guys think? It's meant to be played with smaller scale ships, just so that we can get some of the big fun ships on the table. And this wasn't a normal scenario. This was a scenario just where the Imperials are escorting. So normally the Imperials would outnumber the Rebels in fighters, just the sheer amount of TIE fighters. But we figured because the Imperials will have so many little escort ships, and there was so many of these little tartan patrol cutters, that maybe it would nullify the superiority that the Mon Cal cruisers would have in their fighter bays. And judging by the casualties that I took, yeah, I think it worked out fine. Anyway, it's a tie. You hate to watch a battle report for an hour or whatever and they end up in ties. But that's how it is. My wife, every time I said, okay, just don't roll a 6, she'd roll a 6. So for a whole turn, we didn't even damage each other. But but that's it. All right, well, thanks for watching. And sorry for the cuts in the video, but the cat has now gone upstairs. So there was lots of cat sitting on models, and we didn't want to film that. Anyway, we'll see you again in the next video. Bye for now.